Hey y'all, hope everybody's having a good day. It's a Sunday here in Augusta, Georgia, and um, yeah, it's been kind of cloudy this weekend, but there has been some sun here and there. So I've tried to get out and get my sun when I can. Um, but yeah, if I could encourage you guys to do anything, I'm trying to make sure I look at the camera. I still struggle with that at times when making these videos. Um, if I can encourage you to do anything that is going to help you understand yourself and be able to live in the solution, live in the solutions that we suggest and that we practice, I would suggest you go find, you can order them off of Amazon, but get you a 12 Steps and 12 Traditions AA book. I've been reading out of this book, and I hope y'all found it beneficial. But man, every time I go through this, it just lays bare what my issues are and what the solution is, better than anything that I've ever read, other than maybe the Bible. But even still, this maybe more so than the Bible, because this takes biblical principles and puts them into practical application, which is really the only way you're going to see that I've seen real change in my life. There's just so much wisdom in here, and it's like that sword that Jesus talks about. It cuts to the quick. It doesn't leave any room for guessing about what the issues are that cause me to overeat or to drink or use drugs and alcohol. But it also lays open, the solution. It's like, here you go. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. So, and as I'm sure many of you are experiencing, I hope you are anyway, the solution is not just changing what you're eating. That is a temporary solution, and you can do that and you will lose weight. But if you're going to have lasting success with the health of your body, it is going to be a direct result of your emotional health. If you can stay emotionally healthy, you will stay physically healthy. I guarantee it. There's just so much in here. So step 10 is, which is what we're going to go over today. Step 10 is continue to take a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I'm not going to read everything here, but I definitely suggest if you can pick up a copy of this and just read through. And again, if you're not someone that struggles with drugs and alcohol, just put in I'm an overeater, or an overeater. So I'm going to just read a couple of things here, a couple of lines here that stood out to me. And it says, "For the wise have always known that no one can make much of his or her life until self-searching becomes a regular habit, until he is able to admit and accept what he finds, until he is patiently and persistently trying to correct what is wrong." And there's so much truth in that. But it touches on something here that again goes back to what I said before. When a drunk, or we'll say an overeater, has a terrible hangover, let's just say you're experiencing, you've been eating healthy for a while, and you have an off day, and you experience that hangover the next day from the sugar and the not optimal food, because he drank heavily yesterday. He cannot live well today. But there is another kind of hangover which we all experience, whether we are drinking / overeating or not. That is an emotional hangover, the direct result of yesterday's and sometimes today's excesses of negative emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, and the like, the list of character defects that we've already gone over. If we would live serenely today and tomorrow, we certainly need to eliminate these hangovers. This doesn't mean we need to wander morbidly around in the past. It requires an admission and correction of errors now. Our inventory enables us to settle with the past. So there's also different kinds of inventory, even though in principle they're all the same. So there's a spot check inventory, taken any time of day whenever we find ourselves getting tangled up. There's the one we take at day's end when we review the happenings of the hours just past. This is where you can institute journaling. That's when I typically do it. And basically, here's how I do it. I credit myself with the things well done, and chalking up, where I have missed. And I may go over this. I typically do go over this every couple of weeks. If I've got something that seems to be consistent going on, I'll bring this up with my sponsor, and then that way he's able to point out, what's really going on, which we're going to get to that at the end. When what I'm talking about, what's really going on is a lot of times the underlying motives that I have for things that I can't really see. I may be giving myself too much credit, saying that my motive is this when really my motive is something else. And that's where my sponsor, or in this case your coach, my mom and I, can step in and help you see what's really going on, especially in regards to your emotions. And I want to read this section here because a lot of people may feel like, and I have at times, that this is just a joy killer. This is just one of those things where, man, I'm always looking negatively at myself, and I don't want to look at this stuff because it makes me feel bad. So it says, aren't these practices joy killers as well as time consumers? Must we spend most of our waking hours drearily rehashing the sins of omission or commission? Well, hardly. The emphasis on inventory is heavy only because a great many of us have never really acquired the habit of accurate self-appraisal. Once this healthy practice has become grooved, it will be so interesting and profitable that the time it takes won't be missed. For these minutes and sometimes hours spent in self-examination are bound to make all the other hours of our day better and happier. At length, our inventories become a regular part of everyday living rather than something unusual or set apart. So again, over time, this has become something that I see as beneficial, and just like changing the way that you eat. In the beginning, it's difficult, but then once you practice it for a while, you're like, wow, this is I can't imagine myself doing anything different. But it takes time. It goes into talking about anger. I really enjoy this part, and definitely see the truth in it. It says, we have found that justified anger ought to be left to those better qualified to handle it. I can definitely say in my life, I am not someone who is qualified to judge someone and say that my anger is justified towards that person. I'm just not very good at that. I will quickly turn that into a resentment. Let's see. Anger, that occasional luxury of more balanced people, could keep us on an emotional jag indefinitely. These emotional dry benders often led straight to the bottle, and in you guys' case, if you're not someone that struggles with drinking, to overeating. Other kinds of disturbances, jealousy, envy, self-pity, hurt pride, did the same thing. And then it goes into talking about really what it is that the objective of what we're trying to do here. In all these situations, we need self-restraint, honest analysis of what is involved, a willingness to admit when the fault is ours, and an equal willingness to forgive when the fault is elsewhere. We need not be discouraged when we fall into the error of our old ways, for these disciplines are not easy. We shall look for progress, not perfection. That's a huge line right there. Progress, not perfection. Our first objective will be the development of self-restraint. This carries a top priority rating. When we speak or act hastily or rashly, the ability to be fair-minded and tolerant evaporates on the spot. One unkind tirade or one willful snap judgment can ruin our relation with another person for a whole day or maybe a whole year. Nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen, or thumbs. I know in our generation, that's the texting. Um, we must avoid quick-tempered criticism and furious, power-driven arguments. The same goes for sulking or silent scorn. For we can neither think nor act to good purpose until the habit of self-restraint has become automatic. I can't tell you how many times this saves me, because I still, again, progress not perfection. I'm still someone that my personality type is, I have a tendency to, be very passionate about things, and so I'm also a very just person. So when I see someone being mistreated or I'm being mistreated, I want right to be done, but I can have a tendency to react in anger whenever I see that, see someone not acting the way, that I think they should, or treating me the way that I think they should. And rather than take this approach, which this is really what, helps me be able to calm my emotions, and then be able to, if I am going to have a discussion with somebody, it helps me remember the most important thing. It says it will become more and more evident as we go forward that it is pointless to become angry or to get hurt by people who, like us, are suffering from the pains of growing up. Man, that's powerful stuff right there. It talks about, and some of you may be experiencing this at this point, it talks about when we've had a small measure of success, it can be a big temptation for us to think we're a big shot. All of a sudden we've lost this weight. We've, gotten healthier. Our lives are going in a better direction. We've gotten this new job or whatever. And all of a sudden we start to look around at other people like, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all need to get with the program. And we forget. A better way to think about this is don't forget where you come from. It's definitely something I say to myself on a regular basis is, there are so many instances where I make mistakes because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm struggling to find myself as a man and struggling to find myself as a human being. So I just need to remember that everyone else is on that same journey, and I need to keep in mind that not everyone was blessed to be raised in a house with morals by two parents that, tried to instill that stuff in me. Not everyone was raised in church. Not everyone has been gifted with sobriety. And I just need to remember that I'm blessed, and I need to be a channel for other people to receive that same grace that I've received. So, this just goes into, this talks about motives right here. This is some very powerful stuff. Most of us must admit that we have loved but a few, that we have been quite indifferent to the many so long as none of them gave us trouble. And as for the remainder, well, we have really disliked or hated them. Although these attitudes are common enough, we find that we need something much better in order to keep our balance. We can't stand it if we hate deeply. The idea that we can be possessively loving of a few, can ignore the many, and can continue to fear or hate anybody has to be abandoned, if only for a little at a time. We can try to stop making unreasonable demands upon those we love. We can show kindness where we had shown none. With those we dislike, we could begin to practice justice and courtesy, perhaps going out of our way to understand and help them. Whenever we fail any of these people, we can promptly admit it to ourselves always and to them also, when the admission would be helpful. Courtesy, kindness, justice, and love are the keynotes by which we can come into harmony with practically anybody. When in doubt, we can always pause, saying, "Not my will, but thine be done." And we can often ask ourselves, am I doing to others as I would have them do to me today? How wholeheartedly we can agree, for we know that the pains of drinking had to come before sobriety and emotional turmoil before serenity. Again, this goes into motives as well. Talks about, how we a lot of times think we're better people than we really are. We constructively criticize someone who needed it when our real motive was to win a useless argument, or the person concerned not being present. We thought we were helping others to understand him, when actuality, our true motive was to feel superior by pulling him down. We sometimes hurt those we love because we need to be taught a lesson, because they need to be taught a lesson when really we want to punish. We were depressed and complained we felt bad, when in fact we were mainly asking for sympathy and attention. This odd trait of mind and emotion, this perverse wish to hide a bad motive underneath a good one, permeates human affairs from top to bottom. This subtle and elusive kind of self-righteousness can underlie the smallest act or thought. Learning daily to spot, admit, and correct these flaws is the essence of character building and good living. An honest regret for harms done, a genuine gratitude for blessings received, and willingness to try for better things tomorrow will be the permanent assets we shall seek. Having so considered our day, not omitting to take due note of things well done, and have searched our hearts with neither fear nor favor, we can truly thank God for blessings we have received and sleep in good conscience. So the reason this is a longer, going to be the longest meditation teaching so far is because it is the most important. It is where it's the thing we're going to be doing more than anything else, is taking inventory during our day. It's the thing that's the most important to keep us balanced, to keep us from reverting back to overeating and putting the weight back on. Almost every single person that I know that has taken this challenge, that has worked our program, who has gone back, when I speak to them, within a few moments, it's pretty easy for me to recognize that it wasn't overeating that was the issue. It was they veered off the emotional, the path to emotional balance, emotional health. They stopped taking inventory. They quickly, I hear judgments that they've made against other people, or judgments that they're holding against themselves. So it just goes hand in hand together, guys. And in my own life too. So it's very important that we understand that this is going to be a big part of our lives moving forward, a vital part of our lives moving forward. And it's very important that you put this in the app, that you are honest about your day and what's going on, and don't allow, especially days to stack up, even moments to stack up where you are, emotionally unstable. So, yeah, it's just very important. So I hope y'all got some, and I want to give an example of what this, a prayer that I have used regularly in my life. You heard the "Not my will, but thine be done," but this is just something that I feel like is a balanced prayer when I'm going throughout my day, and then at the end when I'm assessing what's happened during the day. I say something like this. I say, God, I just want to thank you that I have the awareness of my faults as a person. I thank you that, I thank you that I have the ability to change, that I have the ability to love people the way you would love them. So I'm not going to, get too down on myself. But I'm also, not giving myself a pass here. So I just pray that you would continue to reveal to me throughout my day, where I can love people better, where I can show more kindness, where I can show more forgiveness, where I can show more understanding. Help me understand myself better, and why I do the things that I do. But I thank you most of all that I don't have to stay stuck in these places, that I have the opportunity to be a better person. Uh, yeah, and I don't have to live miserable anymore. As you guys can tell, man, this stuff, it just makes me emotional. I can't help it because if you're somebody, and I imagine most of you, many of you are like this, that have been through some really dark times in your life and you didn't think that there was a solution, this is the solution. So when you've been sick and then you find the cure, it's hard to hold back the gratitude that, for me, when I'm grateful for something, it comes out in tears sometimes, and I'm not ashamed of that. So I hope you guys get to experience some of that too. But anyway, we love y'all and are grateful, so grateful to have y'all be a part of what we're doing here. And again, if you need any clarification, you can reach out, but definitely pick up one of these books. It'll look something like this. It's the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of AA. Again, you can probably find it on Amazon, or somewhere like that. But anyway, love y'all. Thanks.